Good afternoon, everyone. First, I want to offer, on behalf of the city and the Division of Police, our condolences to the family members who've lost loved ones here. This is a really tragic situation that involves two different families. This is a family situation. This incident was brought to our attention at around 7:30 last night. We received a call that an individual was making allegations that he had critically injured some family members and was threatening suicide. We obtained an address. We dispatched cars here. Officers arrived on the scene. They made contact with the individual. They made contact with some family members. We deemed the threat very credible. We were conducting a violent crime detail in the area, so we had resources here relatively quickly. Fortunately, some of our members from our crisis negotiations team were in the area working the detail. They responded. They were able to establish contact with the suspect. Again, we had credible information that there were victims inside the home. We had a SWAT call up and SWAT responded. Our initial response to this was a rescue operation. We didn't know what the status of the victims were, so SWAT made some very proactive approach in entering the residence. The SWAT unit entered the residence. They cleared the basement. They cleared the first floor. Eventually they encountered the suspect on the second floor. The entire time we had contact with this individual, our negotiators were talking with him, trying to get him to come down and surrender. We encountered some obstacles upstairs, some physical obstacles as well, but eventually we were able to get a visual on the victims and determine that the two victims mentioned were indeed inside the house and they were expired. It then transitioned from a rescue operation to a barricaded suspect operation. Again, continuing with our negotiations and tactics trying to get this male to come out. This went on, this lasted a while. Our SWAT unit probably got here around 8:30. At approximately 6:30, our partners from the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office were gracious enough to replace our SWAT team. It is a very daunting task to be in those positions that long, holding those bunkers. So our SWAT unit was replaced by the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's SWAT unit, as well as their crisis negotiation team. They assumed tactical operations. They continued the negotiations and dealing with the male. At approximately 10:30 this morning, the suspect took his own life. Again, this is very tragic. We will wait for the medical examiner's office to identify the victims as well as the suspect. Again, our prayers go out to the family. This is a very, very unfortunate situation.
Detective, are you able to tell us the relationship between the suspect and the victims?
At this time, no. I want to get verification on some things before we go into that. So once we get the identification from the medical examiner's office, then we'll kind of talk about those relationships possibly later.
At what point, or what was the timeline between when you first made contact inside the house with the suspect and when it turned into a standoff situation? How much time elapsed during that?
Pretty much immediately. Once we got here, and pretty much within the first 10 to 15 minutes of us being here, we knew this individual. We had confirmed some things, and we knew this individual was armed and inside the house. So again, our crisis negotiators were here relatively quickly. They tried talking to him. Once we realized that was not working, we escalated, and that's when we called in our SWAT.
You talked about some of the physical obstacles that you guys encountered. Did that involve a shootout between the suspect and some of your officers?
No, at no point in time, other than when the suspect took his own life, were any shots fired.
Can you elaborate on those physical obstacles that you guys dealt with?
Just barricaded things that hampered us from making entry, to utilizing some of our tools to verify what was going on inside.
These are very intense situations. Talk to me about the effort that was made over a really long period of time by a lot of officers, by a lot of people involved.
It is an intense situation, even more so when it turns into a rescue operation. In a barricaded suspect situation, ideally you can sit and wait. Time is your friend. You can negotiate with the individuals. But once we learned that there were victims inside, not knowing what their injuries were, trying to be able to get these people assistance was a priority. And it's still a slow and methodical approach. But that was the priority at the time, to try and get these victims.
Any advice or for the people that live in this area, who are, trying to get home or, wondering what they should do?
So as part of our protocol, we did evacuate a couple homes. We did ask some people to shelter in place in their homes, down in their basements. Later on throughout the morning, we made arrangements with the Cleveland Municipal School District in terms of kids going back and forth to school. So we did what we could to try and mitigate how this impacted the neighborhood. But this is traumatic for the entire community. One of the things that we will do is have our community engagement officers come back out here, as well as community relations, to talk to the public and to let them know what happened, not in great detail, but just kind of get an idea of what happened, as well as get some feedback from them. We're going to canvass the neighborhood. Maybe there's some information we can glean as to what led to this. But right now, it is still an ongoing and an active investigation. But we're still trying to piece together exactly what transpired here.
Do you know when some of these folks will be able to get back to their houses?
If I'm not mistaken, we're allowing people to go back to their houses now. There's just the one crime scene, and it's only occupied by the family who lived there, so that's not impacting anyone getting in or out.
Was there, danger to the surrounding homes or to people in the neighborhood when all this was unfolding?
To err on the side of caution, we want to make sure the residents are safe because there's an individual with a weapon there who could fire it. We want it to be. We want to get people as far away as we could if we deemed it necessary. So those are precautions that we take on a regular basis when we do these SWAT call-ups.
One more last question
Okay.
here.
Is the suspect known to police? Is there a history there?
Again, we want to verify his identification first. So
Could you just run this rundown from the beginning of just when you got here and what happened?
I'll give you a quick update. It wasn't much more from when you got here, but I'll make sure you get.
thank you.